Welcome into the Boys Collective episode number 29 right here on 105 Through the Fan here on YouTube. My name is Kevin Gray alongside Super Bowl winning scout and 1/4 of the G-Bag Nation, Bryan Broaddus. It is Game Preview Friday as the Dallas Cowboys get ready to visit the New York Football Giants. Bryan, good morning to you. Happy Football Friday as the Cowboys look to make it 3 in a row on the road as they take on the Giants this weekend.
Yeah, and good morning to you, KG. It's funny, the calendar has now changed, and you're getting all these scenarios of how teams get in the playoffs and what they have to happen and things like that. And the most simple way of doing this is just going out there and winning football games, and then that kind of all takes care of itself. So, division game, I anticipate you're going to get the Giants' best effort. They're struggling with injuries. They're struggling with COVID, but you're going to get their absolute best effort. And I kind of feel like you need to go out there and really, like we talked about with the football team last weekend, just take this game from them.
The Giants are dealing with a myriad of issues, which we will dive into here on our game preview show. Make sure you find Bryan on Twitter at Bryan Broaddus. You can find me on Twitter at Kevin Gray Sports and subscribe to 105 Through the Fan here on YouTube. You can also find all of our content at 105throughthefan.com and follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, also at 105.3 The Fan. The Dallas Cowboys have won 8 of the last 10 matchups against the New York Football Giants as they get ready to visit the Giants this weekend. They are dealing with a myriad of issues, namely at quarterback. Mike Glennon is going to be appearing to be the starter at quarterback for the New York Giants on Sunday. Meanwhile, the Dallas Cowboys dealing with some quarterback issues of their own, not necessarily in terms of who it is, but how said quarterback has been playing, which has been the biggest topic of conversation this week, Bryan, which is where we'll start here before we get into our game preview as the show goes on. Dak Prescott, who Jerry Jones, who appeared on 105 Through the Fan on Tuesday, told Sean and RJ, look, it'd be fair if you said that Dak Prescott was in a slump. Prescott has heard some of the noise surrounding his play this week and told the media on Thursday, quote, I've been doubted my whole life, been said I couldn't do this, I can't do that. So in a sense, I'm actually kind of glad it's kind of come back. I'm glad that's the way people feel, and there's a lot being said right now. He also goes on to say, I do realize I'm not playing my best ball. I haven't been playing it. I've made some poor decisions, I guess you could say, but that's the kind of the part of it. I wouldn't say it's a slump, quote unquote, material, but I'm definitely not up to my standard and expectations, end quote. So it sounds like a quarterback who's heard some of the noise around him as far as his performance is concerned and has recognized that he needs to play better. And I think that's where we'll start here. What can this quarterback do going up against an opponent where he's had success against them in the past to really refine some of that? And I'll use a Mike McCarthy word here, mojo, if you will, to be able to get back to where he's capable of playing.
Yeah, KG, he's the one that has to stand up there and answer all the questions. They don't, you do get to talk to Kellen Moore. You don't get to talk to Joe Philbin. You don't always get to talk to Conor McGovern. You don't get to talk to guys who, have had their own shares of struggles. That's the big issue. And the quarterback is always going to be the one that people are going to point to. Again, I don't tend to look at how a player plays because of his salary and stuff like that. I know there's a lot of people, I think it's a very lazy take when you say that, okay, well, he's not playing up to his $40 million he's worth. There's a lot of quarterbacks that are paid a lot of money that aren't playing up to their worth right now. So don't focus on that. Focus on, okay, why is he playing poorly? Is it his own doing, or is it a lot to do with the offensive coordinator, the offensive line, the health of the running backs, the lack of time on field for the wide receivers? What are the other things that are not helping Dak Prescott do his job? And, I admire him for standing up there and saying that people have doubted him, because he's absolutely right. And talking to guys like Dan Mullen, who was his coach at Mississippi State, Dan would say, listen, I didn't think this guy would be an SEC quarterback, but he's always overcome. He's always found ways to work on his craft to be better. but I think Dak Prescott needs some help along the way. And I think it starts with really what's going on up front. I just don't think this offensive line is playing particularly well. We'll see. As we tape this show on Friday, and I told you this, I tweeted this stuff out. Connor Williams is going to start at left guard. And then what they're going to do is they're going to rotate the left tackle. We'll see Ty Nsekhe play in this game, and we'll also see Terrence Steele play in this game. So that means Lyle Collins at right tackle. Hopefully they get back to doing some things better. But, Mike McCarthy and the staff believe that if they could get their running game going again, I know for all the nerds out there the football nerds that love talking about numbers and analytics and all that, and running is important to Dak Prescott, because I kind of feel like that if they run the ball well enough, that takes away things that teams are trying to do. They don't respect the Cowboys offensive line, and they don't respect their health at their running backs right now. And from what I've told too, that Tony Pollard will play this week. So that will at least help with that regard, but they need to find a way to get this running game going. And I think it's going to supplement and help Dak Prescott to get the cleaner looks that he needs going forward in these games.
Dak Prescott has thrown 20 touchdown passes against only 5 interceptions in his career against the New York Giants. Prescott's touchdown total is the highest against any single opponent. So if he was looking for a get right opponent, it might be this one when it comes to the New York Giants. And obviously with that offensive line, it's interesting because over the last 2 games, this is a unit, as far as the run game is concerned, that has topped over 100 yards in the last couple of games. And now with the addition of Connor Williams back, how big of a difference athletically does Williams provide as far as an upgrade is concerned over McGovern? And what could that look like in impacting the running game for Ezekiel Elliott and a Tony Pollard, who has been practicing even in a limited form this week, and what that could mean for this running game going forward?
Yeah. Pollard was with the medical staff for the first part of the week in practice. And then the last 2, he's been with actually getting reps with the team. I think that's a very positive sign. I think and this is where I was wrong about Conor McGovern. Conor McGovern is a powerful guy. He's not an athletic guy. And maybe that's some of the questions that they had at center about putting him at center, that he wasn't as good of an athlete as Tyler Broaddus and guys like that. And so to me, Connor Williams back in the lineup, yes, could you deal with the penalties? Evidently, they're okay that they're going to have to, because they ran the ball better with him. When you watch the Cowboys run the ball, especially early in the season, it was about the push they get on the front side, meaning the play side where the ball was going. The backside is responsible for the cutoffs and make sure that maybe there's an alley if things get a little muddy on that front side or play side, that the ball can bend back. They just weren't getting that. Conor McGovern could not get his head across a one technique. He couldn't get his head across the linebacker. With Connor Williams, you're going to get a more athletic guy. He's going to be able to kind of get that latch on, get the push, get the block. I mean, he's had some holding penalties on the backside too, but at least he's in position to hold. They haven't had that from Conor McGovern. It just hasn't. They've played against some teams that have had some really good inside linebackers. They haven't been able to get up on those linebackers. This is where Connor Williams will help. He will be able to, and don't be surprised in this game if the ball gets pushed going right behind Collins and Martin, and everything's going right, and then all of a sudden Zeke or Pollard takes the ball back behind Broaddus at center, and then now Connor Williams has got things pushed to where there's an actual lane there, and if the safety has to come. But nobody's really respected the Cowboys running game because the offensive line hasn't done a very good job of securing down guys or the linebackers. And again, it's allowed them to play coverage against Dak Prescott because, again, the health of the backs, the poor job by the offensive line. I kind of feel like that Connor Williams will give them a little bit more of what they had early in the season running the football.
I'll be right along with you. I was one of the ones that said, hey, let's get McGovern in there and see what he's got, because it just came to a point where it felt like the penalties were just way too much, especially affecting plays where you were having, either long carries or pass plays down the field that could affect outcomes of football games, and the mental and physical mistakes that Connor Williams was having. It just felt like at that point, a player who has been that experienced should not be having those kinds of mental and physical mistakes. Hopefully for him now, with an opportunity to get back in there, those things have been cleaned up from a mental and a physical standpoint where, yeah, you're going to have the penalties every now and then, but not to the extent where he at one point had more penalties than I think the 15 NFL teams at one point, earlier on, this year. So
no, you're absolutely right. And I think that's the thing that's the biggest, maybe they're going to live with that. Maybe that's what they want to live with, and that's, unfortunately that, but they're going to have to do something different.
mm-hmm.
They're going to have to do something different with the line. And again, I felt like that Conor Mcgovern was going to be that guy and was going to be able to help the line, but it just hasn't worked out as good as it needs to be. Let's see. And, maybe it will allow them, from kind of things I'm hearing, it allows them to get back to some of that Hulk package they like to talk about with him playing as a fullback. I never felt like that Ezekiel Elliott was good with a fullback in front of him. I always felt like that Ezekiel Elliott with a fullback, if the fullback had hesitation, it made Zeke have hesitation.
Sure.
But it sounds like that they really want to get Conor Mcgovern into that role of move, block at the point, that kind of stuff. And maybe that helps Ezekiel Elliott a little bit more running the football. But they know they're going to have to run the ball here later in the year. I wouldn't be surprised if you're going to see a little bit more creativity with Conor McGovern as that fullback role.
Some housekeeping notes for the Cowboys. DeMarcus Lawrence was on the injury report as a precaution with his foot injury.
He's good to go. Yeah, KG. I visited with people this morning before I came on the show, and he's good to go. Don't worry about him missing this football game.
So looking forward to seeing him back on the field, where he had a tremendous impact in his first couple of games back against the Saints. Had also a sack against the Washington football team, where a sack party broke out with several guys that particular day. Kelvin Joseph also dealing with an illness. Tyron Smith did not practice. Of course, he's going to be out this week dealing with the ankle injury. And of course, we mentioned Tony Pollard as he continues to work his way back, dealing with the plantar fascia injury in his foot there. Interesting note when it comes to Prescott, before we go to our game preview, since losing both games to New York as a rookie, Prescott is 8-0 against the Giants and has 5 300-yard passing games in that span. He has thrown 3 or more TD passes against the Giants 5 times. As we mentioned earlier, 20 touchdown passes to just 5 interceptions against the Giants. That gets us to our game preview as the Dallas Cowboys at 9-4 visit a reeling Giants team at 4-9 themselves. The Dallas Cowboys are an 11-point favorite on the road this weekend, a big-time favorite to handle their business against the New York Giants. Of course, a Giants team that has fired Jason Garrett, no longer the offensive coordinator. Saquon Barkley has struggled at the running back position. Daniel Jones continues to deal with injury. He will not play in this game. Mike Glennon appears to be the starter going forward here. They do have some nice skilled players when it comes to guys like Sterling Shepard and Evan Ingram. Kadarius Toney appears will not play in this game either, as far as his play is concerned. So a reeling Giants team taking on a Cowboys team trying to make it 3 straight on the road. Let's start on the offensive side for the Cowboys as they attack this Giants defense. How does Kellen Moore, who we talked about extensively in our Wednesday show, how does he and Dak Prescott get on the same page, whether it be communication with the receivers, improving offensive line play? How does Kellen Moore and this offense attack this Giants defense this weekend?
Yeah, I think that with what you're going to have to worry about with the Giants is, I think it's really about their front. And, Leonard Williams, I think, is one of their better defensive players on the line. And he's 50-50 with that tricep injury. I was talking with some guys at the Giants. They kind of felt like it was really a game time decision what they were going to do with him. But there's some other guys you're going to have to deal with here too. I think Lorenzo Carter is a pass rusher. And then Azeez Ojulari, I think, is another one that has had a a pretty good rookie campaign. And so, if you're not on point at left tackle or not on point at right tackle, you could potentially have some problems with these guys as pass rushers. They're a big group inside, but I think we're starting to see a little bit more about I'd like to believe that the 3 games in 12 days hurt Dak Prescott and hurt Kellen Moore as far as practice time and stuff like that. Starting to get back on more of a weekly schedule, with what they're doing and not, having to rush this and having to rush that. I know the meetings because of the COVID protocols and stuff, that seems to be a little bit of a crazy situation. But I just think the fact that the receivers are practicing, the quarterback, the coordinator, practice time, stuff like that, all those things I think are really, really, really important to getting everybody back on the same page. So to me, I think you're going to see a much better effort as far from the play caller, as far as getting to things that Dak can do. Again, them trying to run the football against this front, they're going to have to be able to block those inside guys. Those are big body guys. When you talk about Dexter Lawrence and Danny Shelton and guys like that, Austin Johnson, I mean, they've got some big body guys inside. Handle the big bodies and then see if you could get their running game going again. They believe that will open some things up for them in a little bit better fashion.
It's going to be important for this running game to get going because I think much like how I think the Cowboys offensive line will need to establish dominance against a good front for this Giants team. I think it'll be important for the confidence, especially as we mentioned with Connor Williams, to be able to establish confidence early, to be able to handle his business early, to really set the tone offensively, for this team going forward here, where they've had a lot of success offensively here. Is this a get right game for, I won't say, all of the receivers, because I think at some point each of these receivers have had their moments, obviously, this season, but the miscommunication that we've seen between Dak Prescott and the receivers at times has really been a real talking point for this team. Can they find themselves getting on track against this secondary that the Cowboys will be able to have success against the Giants in their football team this weekend?
Yeah, this secondary is ravaged with COVID problems. And they're watching the tape, they're a group that really plays off coverage. Early in the year, they were all about playing press and getting up on people with Adoree Jackson and then also with James Bradbury and Aaron Robinson and guys like that. They were really, really interested in doing that. And they give up big, huge plays. And Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator, said, no more. We're not doing this anymore. I think this is a get-right game for the Cowboys receivers because I do feel like that the Giants are going to give them free access and routes. Now, let's see if Amari Cooper can make them pay. Let's see if CeeDee Lamb can make them pay. Let's see if Michael Gallup can make them pay. Because if these guys get free access and routes and catching balls inside all day, the run after catch stuff with the Cowboy receivers is generally pretty good. So, yeah, I just kind of feel like that protection, Prescott confidence, a little bit of a running game, free access on the outside, you can make some things happen because, again, no Adoree Jackson. Aaron Robinson has been playing as a rookie, and now he's in the COVID protocol. They are decimated at corner. And so we've seen the Giants before. I remember a game at AT&T early in the season a couple years ago where they were so shell-shocked at secondary that they gave up play after play after play after play. This very well could happen to them in this football game as well. So I think it would be a good get-right game for the Cowboy offense.
As you mentioned, Xavier McKinney placed on the COVID-19 list. Adoree Jackson, also Aaron Robinson is going to be out on Sunday. The Giants are dealing with a massive, massive issue, much like, unfortunately, the NBA, the NFL, the National Hockey League have been dealing with significant COVID issues. The Giants, unfortunately, not exempt from that as far as their team is concerned there. Let's turn our attention then to this Cowboys defense attacking Freddie Kitchens and his offensive unit on Sunday. Mike Glennon going to be the starter for the New York Football Giants. Jake Fromm, the backup there. Micah Parsons has tallied a full sack in 6 consecutive games, becoming the 3rd rookie in league history to do so. He's been the talk of the NFL, particularly this week. He had some very interesting comments saying, hey, The NFL is not that hard, man. He's been able to figure some things out, which I'm sure raised some eyebrows, but I'm sure at the same time, maybe not too many, because he's made the NFL look pretty easy through his first 13 games of his career with 12 sacks in his first 13 games. How does Dan Quinn go about attacking a Giants football team that's going to be playing Mike Glennon at quarterback? Do have some good skill players, but at the same time, offensively still struggling, especially with Saquon Barkley these days.
Yeah, I think that Freddie Kitchens is going to try and screen the Cowboys to death. I really do. And Saquon Barkley is generally a pretty good catcher of the football, but the last couple of weeks, I believe in the games that I watched, he's had some drops. And the thing you have to worry about, though, is that Mike Glennon is not going to hold that football. They can't. Nate Soldar can't hold up at right tackle. It's just not a possibility. And they're going to struggle, with, I think Andrew Thomas is a pretty good player, but, he has his moments where he gives up stuff on the edge. The Giants are not going to let you beat them into submission. They're just not going to do it. And, they're going to screen you. They're going to draw you. They're going to use wide receiver screens. They're going to make sure that every time you rush the passer, the ball is got out quick. They're not going to let you hold the ball. They don't want to hold the ball. They're going to move the ball as best they can. They got Booker, they've got Barkley, they've got guys that, that can catch the football. And I think this is one of those games where, depending on how you play their backs, how you play their receivers, you got to be ready for the quick game today. This could be a very frustrating game for the Cowboys. Now, in a way, it could be frustrating because the Giants are going to try and just, like I say, they're going to let you run up the field, throw a screen, run up the field, throw a screen, run up field, throw a screen, because they can't protect. So to me, I think you have to have great patience. You also have to not get frustrated, and you got to tackle really, really well in space. If you get Saquon Barkley one-on-one in space and it's a 3-yard gain, keep it a 3-yard gain. Don't let a Saquon Barkley catch turn in a 3-yard pass, turn into like a 28-yard play or a 30-yard play. You can't let that happen in this football game. That's really the only way. Now, the Giants have got some good skill guys. I think with losing Kadarius Toney in this game really hurts them. But Kenny Golladay is a fine player. Sterling Shepard's a fine player. Darius Slade, they've had a problem on the outside with drops. Quite frankly, they have dropped a lot of balls on the outside, and that's hurt them. That's hurt them a lot. So let's see if in fact that kind of continues that trend. But if you're the Cowboys, you have got to be ready for them trying to slow down your rush. They know they can't protect. They don't want to get into a game where it's a drop back game because Mike Glennon will get hurt. So the Cowboys had better be ready for the quick game here on Sunday.
Two things that stood out to me, and you took one of them the words right out of my mouth: the ability to tackle in space, because with the ability to get the ball out quick, you've got to be able to make sure you're wrapping up and not allowing for yards after the catch. And with the absence of Kadarius Toney, who that was one of the distinct memories of that game earlier on this year when the Giants visited the Cowboys, was how big Kadarius Toney was making plays down the field in open space, giving Trayvon Diggs fits in that particular game because of the amount of speed that Toney was able to play with. Obviously not going to be available in this game, but that was one of the big differences in that game against the Giants earlier on this year, how the Cowboys are able to handle this passing game. Also, Mike Glenn's going to give you opportunities to intercept the football. We just mentioned Trayvon Diggs. Trayvon Diggs had an interception, one of his better interceptions of the year against Mike Glennon. So Glenn is going to give you a chance to pick off the football and potentially get some takeaways in this game. Dallas this year has an 8-2 record in 2021 when it has recorded 2 or more takeaways. The Dallas defense has 27 takeaways on the year, which has resulted in 89 points, the 4th most points off takeaways in the league this year. So their ability to not only take away the football, but also convert off with points off of those turnovers has been huge for this Cowboys team this year. And we'll look to try and do more of the same going into the game against the Giants. That gets us to our X factors of the game. Bryan, let's go on the defensive side of the ball first. give me an X factor or two that will allow this Dallas Cowboys football team to walk in and out of East Rutherford, New Jersey. Yes, they do play in New Jersey. As far as the Giants are concerned, and how the Cowboys will walk out with a win on Sunday.
Yeah, I think defensively, as you ask, the X factors. I mean, we've talked about tackling. I mean, last week it was Leighton Vander Esch because you were going to use Micah Parsons potentially as a blitzer and stuff like that. I kind of feel like though this game is going to be on a guy like Jaron Kearse. I really, really do like his ability, his demeanor. And I say that because I think like I say, this game is going to turn into them Giants not allowing you to really get a rush. They're going to try and make you get frustrated that way. And I think this is where Jaron Kearse plays a big part, because if all of a sudden there's rushing and then the ball's coming out on the screens and stuff, Kearse has got to be there to be ready to tackle. So I think the safety play overall for the Cowboys has to be on point. I just don't see the ball going all the way down the field a lot, but anything around the line of scrimmage, anything just slightly beyond the line of scrimmage, I think guys like Kearse, KZ, the safeties, I think those guys, Booker, I think they've all got to be ready, and don't allow the big play. Don't let 3-4 yard gains turn into those huge plays. And I think that's where your safeties are going to have to come into the game today and make sure or come in the game on Sunday and make sure that the Giants just don't have any big plays at all in the passing game.
Interesting note. You talked about the blitz and the ability for the Giants to try and get the ball out quick to try and alleviate some of that. The Giants quarterbacks this year have a passer rating of 67.5 when facing the blitz in 2021, the 30th ranked passer rating in the league in blitz passing situations. So if the Cowboys want to send some pressure, Dan Quinn, you might have an opportunity to make some plays against Mike Glennon and this defense. Offensively, the X factor for the Cowboys to be able to walk out with a win, that they have to do better based on the way that this offense has sputtered over the last few weeks, to really give us an indication that this offense is moving toward the right direction in their final 4 games of this season.
I think it's going to come down to really the offensive tackles in this game. And I'm talking about specifically on the left side. I think this is going to be, it might frustrate Cowboy fans, but I'd keep an eye on left tackle. I think they're going to rotate these left tackles. I think you're going to see Steele get the opportunity. I think you're going to see Nsicky get an opportunity in this game. You're going to look up and it might be, oh, wait, is something wrong with Steele? No, it's just Nsicky going into the game. They really do like Ty Nsicky. They really, really do. So I kind of feel like, though, that left side of the offensive line with Connor Williams back in there, but more importantly, what's going on at that left tackle spot? They can't have problems over there. Say Leonard Williams does play. They can't have him dominate over there, or Ojulari have success over there. They just can't have that, So running game importance, but also, though, the Cowboys' ability to pass the football, they can't have breakdowns over on that left-hand side.
It's going to be up to this offense to really able to establish some confidence going forward, because I don't think that's something that the Cowboys in particular want us to continue to talk about, especially the way the defense has been playing. That offense, who was really good through the first 6-7 weeks of the season, had to rediscover who they are as they move forward here. Real interesting note real quick on the defensive side. Micah Parsons, according to Pro Football Focus, is generating pressure on 21.6% of his snaps. That's good for second in the NFL behind Devin White at 26.9%. I think Micah Parsons in this game could have a field day as far as getting after this offensive line for the Giants. I think he's a defensive X factor that I think really could have a big day. And then I'll go back to the quarterback. The conversation this week has been about, can number 4 get back to what he was earlier this season? And he has a perfect opportunity against a team who he's had tremendous success against to be able to rediscover who he is as a quarterback and remind the rest of the NFL that this is a top flight quarterback and one that should have remained in the MVP conversation if he had played the way that he was capable of playing over these last 4 or 5 ball games. I think Dak Prescott will be able to remind folks of that on Sunday. But hey, this is why they play the games. You just never know what can happen in a rivalry game and also in a divisional game where the Cowboys should win this game and win this game comfortably. I feel very comfortable in saying that. I haven't felt this good about a particular win probably since the Falcons game. That's about as comfortable as I feel about saying that the Cowboys should win. It would be very, very disappointing if they walked out of New York, or I should say, excuse me, New Jersey, without a win on Sunday against the Giants. Let's see. The Cowboys take on the New York Football Giants on Sunday. You can hear that right here on 105 through the Fan with the voice of America's team, Brad Sham, Babe Laufenberg, Christy Scales, patrolling the sidelines as she always does. Brian Broaddus and Ari Timken will have your pre-halftime and post-game shows on 105 through the Fan and also on Odyssey, so you do not want to miss that. Pre-game starts at 9 a.m. right here on 105 through the Fan, and then kickoff promptly at noon as the Dallas Cowboys look to make it 3 games in a row as far as a win streak on the road as they take on the New York Football Giants and try to continue to put a stranglehold. There is a scenario, a wild scenario, that the Cowboys could secure the NFC East. Now, I think it would involve like a tie or some sort as far as that's concerned. I'm not betting on that, so the Cowboys will need to just
win the games, KG. That's
just win. Just win the games and handle your business going forward. You can find Brian on Twitter at Brian Broaddus. You can find me on Twitter at Kevin Gray Sports. Be sure to subscribe to 105 through the Fan here on YouTube. Brian, as always, appreciate the time. Look forward to your call this weekend, and go Cowboys.
Go Cowboys. Thanks, KG.
Appreciate it.